Here we go. So, where was I? ובגיני כך לפתח ודאי חטאת רובץ בגין להתפרעה מנח ואלך דשוקתו עד תשתצא. Come and behold, Adam was born on the day of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Rosh Hashanah is the secret of the upper world, upper and lower, referring to the male and female principles who are called the supernal man and to the lower man. There is Rosh Hashanah above, which is Zeir Anpin and his female principle when they are in a state of judgment. And there is Rosh Hashanah below in the frame of time, which is the sixth day of creation, the day when lower man was created. This teaches us that man was created by the secret of judgment, for he was created on lower Rosh Hashanah. This is connected to the aspect of above, upper Rosh Hashanah, which is Zeir Anpin and his female principle in a state of judgment. On Rosh Hashanah, the barren women are visited. How do we know this happens on Rosh Hashanah? Because it is written in Hashem visited Sarah. The reference to the term and Av Hashem is precise to indicate that it was on Rosh Hashanah that she was visited. Whenever the scripture uses the term and Vav Hashem, it alludes to Zeir Anpin and his courthouse, which indicates judgment, which is the upper Rosh Hashanah. Because Adam was born on Rosh Hashanah, he was born under the influence of judgment that then prevailed in the world. Thus it is precisely so that sin crouches at the door, alluding to the angel of death to exact payment from you. And the verse, and to you shall be his desire of the angel of death to punish you until he destroys you. Inspiring, juicy. So in other words, today, why did I say that today is an important day? Because today is the 25th of Elul, which happens to be the day of creation. And so Adam, or humanity, was born on Rosh Hashanah, which is on the sixth day, which is 6 days from now. So today is the day of creation. So it's interesting because we say Rosh Hashanah, so we're thinking about the new year. But Rosh Hashanah doesn't mean new year. Rosh, which means the head, Hashanah is basically the head of the year. So it has nothing to do with the new year. And so when we're talking about Rosh Hashanah, like the head of the year, we're talking about elevated states. And the first day of the year has nothing to do with Rosh Hashanah because it's the 7th month of the year. So if you follow like the, actually any astrology, like you open People magazine, Cosmopolitan, and whatever, you turn to the end to the page of the astrology. What is the first sign that appears in every chart? It's Aries. So Aries, the first day of Aries is actually the new year of the year. That's the real Rosh Hashanah. So it's interesting because we're not considering, we think that the new year is the 1st of January. Last time I checked, Aries is like March, April. So it has nothing to do with the new year. And so astrology worldwide considers the first month the month of Aries. So what does Rosh Hashanah has to do with anything? So we're saying like it's the Jew, even here in the translation, not in the Zohar, but in the translation of the Zohar, it says the Jewish New Year. It's not the Jewish New Year. It's the head of the year from a Kabbalistic perspective, and it signifies an energy. And even here, it says like the Rosh Hashanah from above, which is Zeir Anpin, and the female principle in the state of judgment, and then there is the Rosh Hashanah below. And the man, when we're talking about man, we're talking about the man, the aspect of man that was created above, and then the aspect of man that was created below. One from the aspect of judgment, one from the aspect of mercy. Even in Bereshit, like in the book of Genesis, it says, before the earth and all the physical things were created, water was created. It's interesting. And from the water, before the earth, or the physical earth, was created, actually it didn't say that water was created, but it says that there was water. There was water, and then the water split to be the water from above and then the water from below. And there is no coincidence that we said that the water is, even physically in science and in electricity, it is the most conductive aspect, element on Earth for electricity. So through water is the transmitter, the biggest transmitter of energy. Now the water from above is not like the water that we have below that is corrupted, that is polluted. And it says actually that in the original water prior to it being corrupted after the big flood of Noah, man was able to breathe underwater. Why? Because the water was pure. And so the same way that you can conceive that, maybe it sounds like a little bit like a sci-fi, what I'm talking about, but it's not so much sci-fi. Why? Because think about a baby. The baby is alive in the womb of the mother and is surrounded by water. So how is that possible? And then it comes out, and then, what does the doctor do in order to make sure, that everything is fine? Like, gives a little tap. It's not to make the baby cry. It is to make the baby take the first breath. But that's the first time that the baby is using her lungs. Before that, in the womb, like they were not functioning. So there is like a whole aspect of what it means, like the water from above, the water from below. And if we're doing like meditation, like I was advised to, like when I was doing a certain meditation, like to go back to the womb. Why? Because in the womb, the water is pure. And it's as pure as the water from above. And as soon as we take our first breath, this is why it says here, where is it? Hold on 1 second. I need to do search, crouch maybe. Here we go. It is precisely so that the sin crouches at the door. From the moment that the baby comes out, the evil inclination takes possession. So as long as the baby is surrounded by the water in the womb, it is protected and it is connected to the upper world. It is connected to Maim Nukvim, which is like the water from above. Now, when we're talking about Rosh Hashanah, and that's why earlier I mentioned a little bit, like we can make any wish in our Hebrew birthday, it is because it is a rebirth. It is a rebirth where we go back to the embryonic state before we were born, but not before we were conceived, before we came to life, before we took our first breath, that every cell of our body was pure. Up to that moment, every cell of our body was pure. And cosmically, that happens to mankind, or I should say humankind, because it's very like sexist to say mankind. What about womankind, right? So it is a cosmic opening for humankind, Rosh Hashanah. That it is the birthday for all humanity. That during those 48 hours, we have the ability to purge our entire system from any negativity or corruption that we might have accumulated from this year, previous years, or previous lifetimes even. Everybody's with me? just realized I don't have my camera and you don't say anything, so let's continue. רבי עשה שאל, מהי דכתיב זה ספר תולדות אדם? ביום ברוא אלוקים אדם, בדמות אלוקים עשה אותם. זכר ונקבה ברם, ויברך אותם, אמר לו, רבי אבא, רזי לה, הוא תנינן, תלת ספרין פתיחן בראש השנה אחד צדיקים גמורים וכו'. ספר הילאה, דה מיני נפק קולה, נפק מיני כתיבה, ספר אמצעיתה, כללה לאליו את התורה שבכתב אדם קדמאה, ספר תליטאה דיקרא תולדות אדם. ודאי יהיו דצדיקים גמורים, הידכתיב זה ספר תולדות אדם, דה צדיק ודאי דאביד תולדות ביום ברו, אלוקים אדם, בדמות אלוקים דה ודאי, כדם ניתקן כולה לאלה, והתקיימו בדוגמה, חדה זכר ונקבה ברמה, סתם חד יתקלל בחד. Rabbi Esa asked, what does the verse allude to when it reads, this is the book of the generation of Adam. In the day Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim he made him. Male and female he created him, and he blessed him. Rabbi Abba said to him, this is a supernal mystery. We have learned that 3 books are open on Rosh Hashanah, that is in the feminine principle. One book is the truly righteous, the second is of the thoroughly wicked, and the third is of the average. And here the Zohar discusses only the first. There is one supernal book in the female principle, which is Binah, from which everything, including the written word, originates. There is a middle book in the female principle, which includes the upper and lower, namely Zir and Pin, which combines Binah and Malchut. This book is called the written Torah, and is the first man of all 4 aspects of man in Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, namely man of Atzilut. A third book exists in the female principle called the generations of Adam, namely the generations of Zir and Pin called Adam. This is the book of the thoroughly righteous, hence the verse, this is the book of the generation of Adam. Certainly refers to the righteous, who is Yesod of Zir and Pin, who brings forth the generations. In the day Elohim created man in the likeness of Elohim. After the revelation of the book of the generation of Adam, all was compelled in the upper and lower worlds, and they were both preserved by the same order. The phrase, male and female, he created them, is vague because the text should have read, men and women, he created them. This is because one was included within the other, namely that the female was included in the male upon their creation. This is because they were double-faced and sewed them. So we can start a conversation, or even more than a conversation, controversy about what is the creation of Adam and Eve. But from the perspective of the Kabbalists, there is no controversy. We're just not talking about a man and a woman as separate entities. Think about it in this way. When the soul is created, and I'm talking about the one soul or about the multitude of souls that are coming forth into this world, into your body, into my body, male, female, etc., etc. The Ari explains that when the soul, the original soul for each one of us, comes from the realm of what we call Yesod, that is the gateway for all the souls to come to earth, and before it lands into an embryo and becoming basically a baby, birth of a baby, that soul is split in 2 and is born in one place and into another place on earth, and that's what we call the soulmates. And to this soulmates connection, there is what we call a male aspect and a female aspect. So from the perspective of Kabbalah, the original soul, prior to its split, there is no sex. There is no feminine and masculine aspect from the original soul. So this is why today, in this lifetime, I could be a man, and in a previous lifetime, I could have needed an experience in a physical woman body. That is a human experience that my soul needs to go through in this lifetime, and in another lifetime, I would be maybe another sex, but it is completely irrelevant to the soul because the soul is asexual, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? Yes? The same, we can say exactly the same about angels, but some people might argue, but wait a second, isn't Michael, Uriel, Raphael onto those angels like male names? Those are just names. And when we're talking about the power of the Hebrew letters, we're talking about channels of energy. We're not talking about, like a male or female energy of an angel, or I've never heard of a male or female angel. They are angels, packets of energies. And in the same way that when we're doing a positive deed, we're creating a packet of energy. We're not saying you just created a packet of a male energy. We created a packet like a ball of energy that has its nature and its essence that is going to be equal to what it is that we put out there. So it is very interesting, by the way, like the whole concept about our life experience, that whatever it is that we are coming as far as our package, psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical, handicaps, no handicaps, good shape, bad shape, whatever it is all part of the human experience that my soul needed in this lifetime, and whatever that means. So again, the takeaway from that passage is don't so much pay attention to all the codes, by the way, that we just went over, because that totally flies over our head. We are talking here about levels of connections. If it not be speaking about the original soul of Adam, and by the way, when we're talking about Adam, and we say, that Adam was created from the earth, right? This is where, God created Adam from the earth and injected in him, blew in him a soul. It's no coincidence that the name of Adam is Adam. Why? Because the earth, how do you call the earth in Hebrew? Adamah. And so Adam is stemming from the word Adamah, right? So it's not a coincidence, and this is why the beauty of the Hebrew letters is incredible, because you take out the last letter, the letter Hey, from the Yud Kei Vav Kei. The last letter Hey of the Yud Kei Vav Kei connects us to the energy of Malchut, physical reality. And also Malchut connects us to the ground, connects us to the earth. So when you take out the energy of the Hey, you elevate that to Zeir Anpin, it becomes Adam. So Adam, the original Adam, we say he was connected, he was living, he was born on the level of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is not in my backyard. It is an elevated state. And every single person can become Adam as we're elevating the Hey of Adamah. So each one of us can become Adam as we are elevating the Hey of Malchut into Zeir Anpin. How do we do that? Well, all the connections, the meditations, the certainty and restrictions, it's everything basically that we learn to become a more spiritual, elevated individual. Everybody's with me? Easy peasy, right? ויאמר גחזי אבל בן אין לה וגומר. אמר לה אלישע, הוודאי שאתה קיימה דה יום הגרים, ויאמר למועד הזה, כעת חיה את חובקת בן, ותהר האישה ותלד בן למועד הזה, כעת חיה אשר דיבר עליה אלישע, למועד ודאי לבתר מית, מה היא טעמה מית, אלא בגין דית יהיב לה, ולה לבעלה. ומאתר דנוקבה התקשר אומן להתקשר בנוקבה, מותה הזדמנת קמא מינה, לן דלה התייהיב דכתיב את חובקת בן. And Gehazi answered, verify she has no child. Elisha said to her, certainly the time is favorable for you to redeem yourself with a son, because the day induces it. For on Rosh Hashanah, barren women are remembered. And he said, about this time, in the coming year, you shall embrace a son. And the woman conceived and bore a son in the season of which Elisha has spoken to her. Assuredly at this time, and afterwards he died. He inquires, what is the reason that he died? He responds, because the child was given to her and not to her husband. And he was bound to the female place. Death awaits one who is bound to the female. Whence do we know that he was given to her? Because it is written in it, and you shall embrace a son. Let's just skip to that passage and continue. בחודש השביעי באחד לחודש וגומר, פקודה ד' לתקוע שופר בראש השנה. דהו דדינה לעלמה כמה דאו כמנה והאו כמוה, דכתיב תקעו בחודש שופר בכסה ליום חגנו, והיתמר. דהיו יומה דסיירה יתכסה דקיים עלמה בדינה בגין, דהו מקטרגה חפה. וכסה והנהיל פתחה על מלכה, אתר דדינה שריה למדבה דינה על עלמה. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month. This commandment is to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, which is basically the ram's horn, which is judgment day to the world, as we explained. We explained the world, blow a shofar at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. We learned that this day is a day when the moon, Malchut, is covered and the world is under judgment, for the prosecutor covers and hides and locks the entrance of the king, who is Zeranpin. The moon is a place where judgment abides to demand justice from the world. So the Kabbalists go at length to explain that, as earlier we mentioned that whatever is above is also below. So when we're using physical tools, it is to awaken spiritual energies. And there is no day more powerful out of the entire year to cleanse, to purify our corrupted body. And I'm talking, when I'm saying body, I'm talking about the physical and the spiritual one, from all the accumulation of negativity from this year and previous years. Negativity, we're not talking about taking a shower and removing the filth that we have covered ourselves with after, like a run or playing basketball or much of tennis or whatever, and then you go take a shower and then you smell good and you feel clean, refreshed. So what we're talking here about is that this is what Rosh Hashanah does to our entire body, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional one, and removing all the layers of filth that we have accumulated from this past year and actually previous years, but also the potential, the power to remove negative layers that we call klipot from even previous lifetimes. And what is the tool, what is the soap, the spiritual soap that we're using on Rosh Hashanah? It is called the shofar. And the shofar, the ram's horn. Why not use another tool? Why use the ram's horn? And it's interesting that you would choose the horn of the ram. Why not choose the horn or a tool from a sweeter, more gentler animal, right? Like, why the ram's horn? And it says energetically that the ram is the most stubborn, the most egocentric and self-centered animal that there is. And so, I mean, like if you want to illustrate what the ram would do, like very often you would see, like in the field, you would see like two ram, like knocking each other's head, right? But you would see it also with children that are Aries, of the sign of Aries, basically that is illustrated, represented by the animal, the ram. Very often when I hear that this child or that child keeps on falling and hitting the head and this and that, like that's always my first question. Is he an Aries? Why? Because they have tendency to do that. They have tendency to go the head first onto the wall. Like it doesn't make sense, right? So it's not the part that they're selfish, but I remember several times the Rav said, Aries is one of the signs that is the most challenging, but also challenged to change because of the ego. And this is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why the horn has to be picked from the ram and not another animal. Why? Because the remedy, the vaccine, is always extracted from the poison or from the source of the problem. So there is no better animal to take the horn from than the ram. So when we're blowing the shofar, by the way, it is cut and then it grows again. So for all the animal protectors and whatnot. So there are 101 blowings of shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And each one of them has a series of meditation. So if we were to blow the shofar, I would say just like a trumpet, it wouldn't have as much effect. I don't want to be extreme and say it would have zero effect. But it wouldn't have as much effect as if, like everything, we would add consciousness behind each blowing of the shofar. And so this is what I'm going to share with you very briefly on the screen so you can see that. So you know that every single person that's going to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, so the first day of Rosh Hashanah this year falls on Shabbat, and we don't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, on Shabbat. So, but we will blow the shofar on the second day, which is going to be Sunday. Why 2 days, you would ask? That's another conversation, but rapidly I would just say that the first day of Rosh Hashanah deals with harsh judgments, removing harsh judgments, and the second day deals with softer judgments. This life or previous lifetimes, adultery, incest, evil speech, and shfichat damim, which is, I guess, making someone bleed. Not necessarily killing, because the Rav explained once that when you're humiliating somebody and that person blushes, that is considered shfichat damim. That is considered spilling blood when you humiliate somebody. So what you see on the screen right now is the meditations that the blower has to go over during the 101 blowings. And 101 is connected to the energy of Michael. So Michael, is the numerology of 101. So again, when we're saying Michael, we're not talking about an individual with a singular name. We're talking about an energy of cleansing. So here you see basically the lining up of all those tkiyot, of all those blowings. So each one of those are sounds. So tkiya, shvarim, teruah, tkiya is basically one set of blowing. Tkiya, shvarim, teruah, tkiya, shvarim, teruah, tkiya, etc. So each one of them is different. This is the ram's horn. I have my own. Don't know if you can see it. So that's the beginning of it. It's very long. So here we go. So I'll just blow it for you just so that you hear how it sounds. Yes? Okay. So it is good also to meditate on this sequence, that it is a sequence that merges the second line of the Ana Bekoach, at least the acronym, Kuf Resh Ein Sin Tet Nun, which is Kabel Rinat Amecha Sagvenu Ta'arenu Nora. So it's the acronym of the second line. And the Yud Ke Vav Ke, Yud Ke Vav Ke, Yud Ke Vav Ke, with those specific vowels. So each one of them has a different tune or sound to it. So we don't pronounce it, we just scan it so that the eyes, the windows of the soul, can scan it and let it penetrate our soul so that our soul can be the perfect channel to use this sound, to use the sound of the shofar to tear up completely, to dismantle the energy of the evil inclination from our lives and from the lives of humanity. All right, just give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. So I don't know if you can see it, but I'll just do it like that. Ready? So as I'm going to blow it, you can just meditate on the sequence that's on the screen and meditate to remove judgment and to remove negativity that we have accumulated in our life this year, this year's, our lifetime, previous lifetime. Ready? Okay. That's Mimi, that's laughing. Okay, so bottom line, get ready. So we could go on and on. Just so you know, I don't know if it was made aware to you, but on the Rosh Hashanah Connections live stream is open for everybody, and you can pay whatever you can. So it can be $1, it can be whatever it is. It has been made available to the entire world so that they can, and anybody. So this year, money cannot be an excuse for anybody. Well, I couldn't connect because it was costing this much. So thanks God that we have, you know, like great people that have made this available. So it is sponsored and whatnot. Like there was a fundraising to make this available. So it is available for everybody, and you can just pay whatever you can and participate in, I don't know if it's all the holidays, but at least starting with Rosh Hashanah, we can have those connections wherever you are. Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's a lot of connections. So do your best. I would say that if you need to choose, if you need to like feel like whatever, like you don't have that much time, at least select the times that there is going to be the blowing of the shofar. So especially on the blowing of the shofar on Sunday, try to make it. So this is it for today. Are there any questions? Comments?
Is the schedule going to be posted for each day and
so.
for time zones and things?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
There is going to be one stream, and the streaming is going to be from New York. So it is, I believe, going to be at 10 or 10:30 on Saturday and Sunday a.m. So it's going to be for Pacific time. It's going to be like very early, like 7 or 7:30. But for you guys, it's manageable. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much. And I'll see all of you on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yehuda.
You're welcome.